In early April, the military-appointed government of Thailand blocked all access to the website YouTube, a US-based site that acts mostly as a store for independently produced home videos. YouTube's crime? Failing to block a video that insulted Thailand's king. Thailand is not alone here. Turkey and Brazil, among others, have blocked YouTube in the past, and internet censorship is a live issue the world over. But Thailand is an interesting case study because the country is now writing a new constitution, and many people are wondering whether the issue of freedom of speech will be a part of it. I'm Teymoor Nabili, and in this edition of 101 East, we ask just how important is freedom of speech and of the media in the creation of a new Thai democracy. Like most countries, Thailand keeps a close eye on its media. Although the existing constitution does guarantee freedom of expression, all kinds of people and establishments have found freedom has some very strict limits. September's military coup did nothing to calm the jitters that the situation in Thailand might get even worse. Selena Downs reports from Bangkok.
Refusing to be silenced, supporters of the ousted Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra stage a public rally. Their satellite channel was shut down by the military government. They managed just a few hours on air before their signal was blocked, so they're taking their message on the road.
I know that under a dictatorship of some kind, you cannot expect to have a full freedom for the press and for the people. But it is the bunch of people that forced themselves into power and promised, if I can use the present tense, promise that they would return and restore democracy to Thailand as soon as possible. But the indication that they gave to the country and beyond is different.
Websites too are facing a crackdown. Some 45,000 of them are banned, according to the anti-censorship group FACT. The government says most on the blacklist contain pornography or criminal content. But there are also the online discussion forums like Ratchadamnern and Midnight University. The government considers their political views a threat to national security. And the universally popular website YouTube has been banned. It contains video clips deemed offensive to the monarchy.
I think that internet censorship is a backward step for democracy in Thailand, and by acting with impunity, I think that we are heralding a new era of repression in this country.
It's here, 18 floors above Bangkok, where the surveillance teams are hard at work. Government censors are monitoring television, radio, newspapers and the internet. They target anything they consider morally or politically contentious, and they defend their right to do so.
The aims for the Cultural Surveillance Center is to take care and protect the way of life for Thai people, to protect the main pillar, the nation, religion, and the monarchy. Thai people can help to protect together, including traditional culture. Then we will live together in peace.
Political science professor Giles Ungpakorn is an outspoken critic of the government. His book, A Coup for the Rich, has been banned by his own university bookstore. He blames the military government for creating a climate of fear.
Self-censorship in various countries like Singapore or Thailand, the people that make the decisions are the bookshops or the printers or whatever, but it's done in a particular climate. So the military junta have created the climate.
Newspapers appear to be unaffected, but most seem to support the government. It makes one local journalist uneasy.
It's even worse than self-censorship because they are writing things praising the junta. So it's like they're part of the voluntary PR machinery of the military junta. I'm not saying that the junta hasn't done a single thing right, but I think one must take the principle of democracy and consider how the junta came into power, and that's something which has been sadly neglected by most of the Thai print media today.
Back at the rally, police numbers are boosted. The authorities are anxious to try to contain this gathering.
For now, the government says it will allow these kinds of public rallies to continue so long as they remain peaceful. But there are concerns that if the voices of dissent grow louder, the military backlash will again be swift.
I'm joined in the studio by Professor Surachai Wanggiao, a member of the Legislative Assembly in Thailand appointed by the military government. In Bangkok, former Senator Kraisek Chunhavan, and also in Bangkok, Karuna Bokamsi, a broadcaster on Thailand's Channel 11. Thank you for joining us. We saw in that film and heard in that film phrases like climate of fear, a new era of repression. Professor, let me ask you, is that an accurate description of the future for Thailand?
Certainly not for, I hope not for the future. But as for what is happening now in Thailand, it does reflect some facts ongoing in Thailand. Not only in Bangkok, but also in the provinces.
Karuna Bokamsi, you heard the journalist in that film saying that the media in Thailand has been complicit in promoting the idea that the military coup was somehow allowable. Do you go along with that?
Right. Yeah, it's actually what is happening now is what he said, because for me, working at one TV station here in Thailand, I was told that we are going to be a very important part to build national reconciliation and unity in the country. So, so the army and the government every now and then asks us to report on certain topics or skip on certain topics.
But do you agree with the assertion that some of the media themselves have been self-censoring and in fact promoting the government because they live in fear of their own position?
We are actually, but not like totally fear, because I would say that, you know, some media are not totally fear, but I would, you know, try to explain to my foreign media fellow, but they still don't understand. Let's put it this way. For example, I'm not fear about what I can say or what I cannot say, but there's a sense of, like, you know, nationalistic that the government or Thai people trying to create.
Mr. Kraisek, do you think that under this new government we're seeing a worse situation than we saw under Mr. Thaksin when it comes to freedom of speech and freedom of the press, or have things in fact improved?
It's not very much different, because under Mr. Thaksin there was strict censorship. Nobody was able to be critical or even sarcastic of his regime on television, on any television, may it be a private station, independent station, which he owned himself, ITV. He fired 26 reporters,
right,
for being critical
Yes.
of his campaign.
Yes, indeed. Actually, I was working for ITV, the station that Senator Kraisek was talking about, and we basically were censored by Thai Party, who is the government right now. And I, along with my 22 colleagues, were fired of being too critical to the government.
Let me broaden it out for a moment and bring it to you, Professor Surachai. Clearly, the question of censorship and press freedom is one that we can apply to Thaksin as well as to the current military government. And in fact, we can apply this all over Asia. But the interesting thing is this actually a factor of the government in place, or a factor of the societal norms that are in play here? I mean, the Thai constitution at the moment guarantees freedom of speech. Do you think that the Thai people will insist that the new constitution, which is under consideration at the moment, will contain that clause, or perhaps a stronger version or a weaker version of it?
First, the issue of the principle of this freedom. I think no one can say it is nonsense. But in reality of Thai politics, we have experience that it must be guaranteed not only by elected government, because that was how it was run.
The king himself has said that criticism of the king should not result in prison sentences and that he should pardon anybody who's convicted of that. And yet there is a strong cultural feeling in Thailand that criticism of the king is forbidden territory. I'm wondering whether within the broader political context, criticism of the government may also be similarly regarded as a taboo subject. Does the Thai population actually strongly believe that the ability to criticize their leaders is necessary in the new constitution?
Yes, this ability to criticize or to have check and balances in the politics is a very important criteria of democracy.
Okay, let's leave that there for a moment. We're going to have to take a very short break. We will continue the discussion on democracy and freedom of the press in Thailand and in Asia in just a few moments. Do stay with us.